Welcome to the Christian Media Marketing Show. My name is John. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks if you're watching the video here. Appreciate that. Thanks for subscribing, for telling others about it. If you're listening on the podcast, I really do appreciate it. So thanks for taking me along in your ears for a little while. It is a great week. We have seen and heard several reports from teams that we get the honor of serving of just how God is at work. And I'm constantly amazed and grateful for just what He and the Spirit is doing around the world. It is just a powerful, powerful thing that we see that God is at work, drawing people to Himself, convicting people of sin, connecting people to His word and to witness of His workers all around the world, seeing these people get a Bible, meet a Christian, talk to someone about Jesus in their heart language, seeing groups formed and churches started is just an unbelievable, very, very cool thing that we get to witness and see and hopefully help in a little bit to them. It's not without challenges. It's not without struggles, spiritual warfare, and so many other things, but it's worth it and it matters. And so if you're listening to this show today or watching it, if you're contemplating using different types of digital marketing and tools to help you make Jesus known and famous, or maybe you've been doing it for quite a while now and you continue to come back for tips and tricks or whatever, well, thank you. Thank you for what you do for the kingdom, for the King. It matters. It matters a lot. And we are grateful for how there are so many different people and organizations and groups out there who are just trying their best to leverage everything they possibly can to help make Jesus known. So this week's episode is a continuation of what I started on last week of some things to be and to not be. And so this is a series of shows of teaching where I'm talking about what do you do when you've already talked to this person now online? How do you move from seeker into spiritual community? What does that look like? And the truth is it looks different in a lot of different places. Even the journey itself, what kind of content, what kind of ads, how much are you spending? We get asked that question all the time. How much should we spend? Well, it depends on your audience, depends on where you are, depends on how much competition there is. There's a lot to it. How much do you have? Because Meta and Google and Snapchat and others will spend whatever you want to spend. They'll spend it for you. So really knowing what it is there that you are doing will help you. Well, as you're going through this process at a certain point, then this person is ready to move from online to either another smaller online group or to offline or to meet up with other believers or to start a new group or to be a part of an existing church, whatever that might look like for your context there. So what do you do? How does that work out? And so this week, there's some things I want you to think about and to think through. In next week's episode, Lord willing, we're going to talk about some things that I think will help you in your process to create some things that are going to help you in just to really be in the whole environment, everything is what you're doing as you go through that. But this week is all about thinking through some things. And I want to give you a couple of ideas of some things to maybe think about using and maybe starting yourself as you do that. So let's get going here. All right. So the first thing that to me is really foundational is this whole idea of thinking about what is your overall ministry objective? What is your overall ministry philosophy? There is more than one way to do ministry. We've seen that. The scriptures are very open to, as you see different people go out in the New Testament, starting churches, sharing about Jesus. It didn't look the same. It wasn't a cookie cutter model. There are some models and systems that are out there that I personally believe are more fruitful and are probably better in terms of just opportunities for numbers and growth and depth, all of those things. The speed that some of these can do is great, but it doesn't mean that it's the only way to do ministry. I do not believe that we've just now discovered some way. I do not believe that there's only one way because the Lord is so creative in how he does things. What he wants is for us to share the one way to heaven. That's through Jesus. Okay. So no one comes to the Father except through me, Jesus said. And so that's the one way. So how do we bring people to that? Well, I think there's a lot of opportunities there. And I don't think that we all have to think and do the same thing. I've said it for quite a while now. You don't have to be my twin to be my brother. So we don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to do everything the same for us to be a part of the family of God and to be working towards the same goal. And that's what I'm hoping for, is that regardless of your ministry philosophy, maybe you're meeting under a tree, maybe you have a brick and mortar building. There's a lot of things that you may be thinking about or doing. Part of these may be structures or systems that you have inherited. Part of them may be placed upon you by your organization or church. That's fine. The key thing I want you to start thinking through here is just what is your ministry objective and philosophy, because that's going to impact, right? Are you trying to form groups from these people that are reaching out through social media? Well, what kind of groups are you trying to form? Are you trying to take different people from different relationships and neighborhoods and bring them together into a group? Or are you trying to equip them to start groups with their own oikos, their own relationship network of family and friends? Once again, I'm not saying one is the only way to do it, but you really do need to be thinking about that because that impacts this whole flow. So it really starts even when you're online as the responder is typing or talking with the people, the seekers. You need to be thinking about what kind of questions, what kind of vision are you casting long before they've ever thought about maybe getting a Bible or being a part of a group or joining a church or whatever that might be. So it really dictates what kind of resources you are offering people, what kind of questions and comments that you are giving, just the vision that you're casting there. And so when you're leveraging social media, you're leveraging social networks when you do that. And so this helps people feel like that they are not alone in their spiritual journey. What we want to do is to help people, regardless of what your specific strategy is for them to realize that they are not alone and to connect them and help them be with a disciple maker who can equip them, hopefully, to evangelize and disciple their family and friends as well. And so that would be the ultimate goal there. That's 2 Timothy 2:2. That's that generational. And that is not tied to one ministry model. That's just a biblical principle that I would hope no matter what way you're doing ministry, you're trying to bring that into what you're doing. So the first thing is I would love for you to be thinking about just what's your overall ministry objective. Some of you use social media marketing because you have events that you do and you're trying to bring people to these events. And that's fine. That's great. And we've seen some teams and groups see some success with that. But I would warn you on that one. Don't just run ads when you are trying to advertise an event that you're doing. You need to be consistent. This is one of those key things. So understand what your ministry objective is. Like, do you want people just to watch videos or do you want to be finding seekers? Are you wanting to move offline? Are you wanting to stay online? Are you wanting them to form their own groups or join them into another group? Or do you just have an event? All of these things are important things to be thinking through, but consistency is really, really important. So even if it's just $1 a day, I would really encourage you to be spending that dollar running ads, lifting up Jesus, getting people aware of your ministry, your church, whatever that might be. All right. So really thinking about your ministry objectives, your goals, your philosophy, and then working backwards. Where do you want to be 5 years from now in your ministry? I'll give you one more example and then we're going to move on to the next thing. One of the very first teams that I ever got to work with was in, I'm not going to say the country because there's still efforts going on there, but this team had struggled to find seekers for a long time. And I sat in the living room and the whole team was in there. And I just asked this question: what would success look like for you all? What if a year from now would make you all super excited about what you're doing? Would finding 12 people who wanted to study the Bible and be discipled, if we could find 12 at the end of this year, would you be excited about that? And they were. That was the number that they ended up with. Now, we blew that number away, thankfully, at the end of that year. But really thinking about where do we want to be and then working backwards is a key thing here. So thinking through your steps, but your objectives and your philosophy, I think is going to really, really help you as we move to these next things. So another thing that I would encourage you to think about is utilizing tools that will help you make sure that no one falls through the cracks. One of the key ones that we use is Disciple Tools. You can go to their website, Disciple Tools, right? It's right there, disciple.tools, and it is a discipleship resource management. So it's like in the business world, a contact resource management, a CRM, but this one's a lot more spiritual. It's one on steroids because it helps you see not only the individual and where they are spiritually, it helps you see then the groups, the churches, whatever your ministry format looks like, the health of those as well. Are they baptizing? Are they taking the Lord's Supper? Are they giving of offerings? Are they reading the Bible? Are they worshiping? Are they evangelizing? Both as a group and as individuals, it helps you see how they're doing as they follow Jesus. So it is a discipleship measurement tool in one sense, but it's also an accountability tool because it helps you make sure that every seeker is getting followed up on. There's one group that we worked with for a little while in our DJI, and we sent these people different seekers and they didn't follow up on them. They didn't do the work on the field that they were supposed to do. So the person running this specific country objective said, what do we do? Well, we don't send more seekers to them. That's what we do. We give people to follow up on who are being faithful with those that they have received. Because every person, every name, every phone number, every WhatsApp message there that's coming is a real person who will spend an eternity either with God or absence of everything that is good in hell. And so it matters. So thinking through and utilizing tools help us all make sure that we're doing the right things at the right time and that no one falls through the cracks. Now, we use a very specific software to add a layer of security to everything that we do. And we even run Disciple Tools through this software. We now at this point don't have to use text messaging or even emails. So when a seeker is identified, to pass that off, that contact information to the field follow-up person, we can now do all of that in an unbelievably secure way. The thing is, this tool that I'm talking about on this, I don't want to say it on the show here because I don't want those who would wish to do harm to even know its name. So if you have a desire to know about that, there are several ministries. There's even some military that is now utilizing this technology. So I feel very confident in it. But if you would like to know more about what that tool is, reach out to me. Cybersecurity is a very important thing to us. It's something that I've been leaning into very heavily, and we've been investing into for these tools. How do we protect the seekers? At the end of the day, those who can't leave, those who won't get kicked out of a country like a missionary might, but are there. How do we protect them? How do we protect the church in that place? And so utilizing tools to, one, make sure no one falls through the cracks, two, to make sure that everyone is protected. And finally, I would say be thinking through even just utilizing different types of ways. It could be technology, it could be an app, it could be low tech, but ways that you're going to help people grow in their spiritual walk and in your discipleship groups, your discovery Bible studies, or whatever that might look like for you. Think about that process as well. So it could be an app, it could be a version Bible reading plan. It could be something as simple that we've used in Taiwan, which were literally just cards. They look like playing cards that there were 6 questions that we would work through, and each of those questions was on a card, and we would pass the cards out inside the group. And we found that even non-believers would ask the question and would answer it because they were responsible for that card, for that question. So that's a low tech way of doing it, but really utilizing tools to help you in your process when you move from both online. All right. So these are tools like Disciple Tools, Echo Global, Next Steps, what I talked about last week, any of these, anything that are tools like that online, but as well offline tools that you can be using. It can be everything from Bible reading plans, a Bible app that you might want to create, whatever that might be. All right. So think through your overall ministry objectives and philosophy. Think through the tools and the things needed for this process of online to offline. And then I want to throw one more thing for you to consider or to think about. And that is this idea of doing pre-groups. And pre-groups are based around common questions or topics. They could be prayer groups like an upper Zoom type of room. There's a group in a very large Hindu nation that we've worked with that's doing this. And they literally every day have online prayer meetings that people can join with. It could be very specific discovery Bible studies. It could be trauma healing, which would be to me and a very important one. It could be a recovery type of one. It could be whatever. But these pre-groups are very specific, and maybe they're just reading through scripture every day. It's a WhatsApp group and everybody gets on there and we all read or listen to the scripture in the heart language and then maybe ask a few questions or something or pray for somebody, whatever. But these pre-groups help people feel connected. That's the key. It helps people feel connected and comfortable with others and really with this whole idea of Christianity. And so you start in a pre-group and then maybe you break into relational network groups, or maybe then they break into neighborhood groups, or maybe they become a part of the church itself. I don't know. That's going to be up to you to decide. But these pre-groups, these online groups become like a smaller step, kind of a side door entry into the work. And so that could be another way that as you move from seeker and first messages to beginning to evangelize and disciple and maybe even leadership development, could be some of these smaller subgroups or pre-groups. All right. So several things there for you to think through as a team, as an individual, as an organization. What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What will success look like? What tools, what techniques, what trainings do you need? Where are you going to take people as they move through each of these steps of this spiritual journey? All right. These are all things for you to be mapping out, to be thinking through, to be a part of your overall digital engagement strategy. All right. So next week, we're going to get together and I'm going to talk about, Lord willing, some things that you can create, some environments, tools, lots of other things like that. So I hope that you will listen in. I hope if this is a blessing that you will share this, let other people know about this series, about this show. And if we can ever help you, that's why we are a business's mission. That's why we exist, is to serve the kingdom, to make Jesus known and famous. So until next time, to that end, keep pressing forward. Take care and God bless.